Hi, and welcome to JenniferPiper.com. Today we're going to be playing 3 scales at the same time in order to practice them. The scales are D flat, G flat, and B major. Now, you might be going, oh no, these are the most challenging scales because they have the most flats or sharps. However, when you practice these 3 scales together, then you'll find out that they use all the same fingerings, and then that makes it a little bit easier. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to partially ignore all the theory behind these scales and not pay attention to what the note names are called quite as much as we're going to pay attention to what fingers we're pushing down. All 3 of these scales use a fingering that we don't use all the time. That's part of the reason why they're so tricky. And they use that right hand D flat to the left hand E flat. And it's both pinky keys, which again, we're not always the most familiar with using them. So now when you're in the flat scales, they are called D flat and E flat. But when you go over to B major, that you use the enharmonic notes of C sharp and D sharp. But they end up being the exact same keys on the instrument. Now, the other 3 notes that are the same for all 3 scales is the G flat, A flat, B flat. And this can also be tricky, not by itself, but because your left hand pinky is now moving between that left hand E flat key and the A flat key, depending on what part of the scale you're in. So we're going to practice these 2 parts of the scale, and then there's only 2 more notes for each scale, and you'll see that those notes are not the tricky ones. First, let's play the upper part of the staff, D flat and E flat. And you'll see alone, it's not terribly hard. Now we're going to play the G flat, A flat, B flat. We'll first start in the lower octave, and then we'll pop into the higher octave. And the higher octave. So again, these notes alone are not that challenging. So we're going to start with the D flat major scale. Now the other 2 notes in the D flat major scale will be the forked F, and the forked F is necessary because you are using both your right hand pinky on that D flat and your left hand pinky on the E flat, leaving you with the only option of a forked F. And it will also be a C after that B flat. So G flat, A flat, B flat, C. So let's try now 3 notes. So D flat, E flat, F. We will do this in the lower register. Now you'll play the G flat, A flat, B flat, C. Now, when you put these parts together, that's when you get your D flat scale. Let's give it a shot. 1, 2, ready. Now, the only difference between this D flat major scale and the G flat major scale is 1 note. And that note is, we're going to change that C that we just played into a B natural. And because C to B natural is just the removal of 1 finger, it's really not a big deal to do this. So now we're going to play G flat, A flat, B natural, or in the key of G flat, that would be called a C flat, but it's the same thing as a B natural. And so let's play those 4 notes. Great job. And we're going to keep that forked F that we played in the D flat major. So let's try the G flat major scale. And we're going to go back and forth between the D flat major scale and the G flat major scale, because there is only that one note difference. So when you practice one and you practice the other, you're getting almost double the practicing. So D flat major. Now G flat major. 1, 2, ready. And you can see exactly how similar they are. Now the same thing is true with the G flat major scale and the B major scale. The only thing that's really tricky is because all the note names are going to shift from flat note names over to their enharmonic equivalents of sharp note names. But the fingerings stay almost exactly the same. Again, there's only one note difference. We are going to not play the forked F. This time we will be playing an E natural instead. So when we play the D flat, E natural, and we will also be keeping that B natural that we played before. G flat, A flat, B natural. Now, I've just told you all the notes in the flat way to spell them, because really we are talking about fingerings here. If we were talking about the B major scale, we would be using sharp note names, but the fingerings would be exactly the same. The B major scale is B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. But it's okay if you think about it in those flat note names. So we are going to play the B major scale, starting on the middle line B and going up above the staff. And just think about playing your pinky keys, followed by the E natural, and then your G flat, A flat, B flat, and B natural. Let's give B major a try. And now that we have all 3 scales, we can play them all at the same time, and you're almost getting triple the practice now, because there is only that one note difference between each of the scales. So we'll start with the D flat major, which has that forked F and the C. 1, 2, ready. Change that C to the B natural fingering, and we'll play the G flat major scale. Now we'll play the B scale, and we're already playing that B natural. Now we're going to add, instead of the forked F, we will play E natural instead. Starting on B. 1, 2, ready. Now that you're getting used to moving between these single new notes between the scales, we're now going to try the scales in a little bit faster in eighth notes. So starting on that D flat major scale. 1, 1 and 2 and ready. And the G flat scale. 1 and 2 and ready. And the B major scale. 1 and 2 and ready. And let's go back to the G flat major scale. 1, 2, ready. And the D flat major scale. 1 and 2 and ready. Great. Are you ready to try it even faster? Let's go ahead and go with 16th notes this time with the D flat major scale. 1 and 1 E and a 2 E and a ready. And the G flat major scale. 1 E and a 2 E and a ready. The B major scale. 1 E and a 2 E and a ready. Hopefully these 3 scales don't feel quite so intimidating anymore. Thanks for coming to jenniferpiper.com practice videos and practicing with me. I hope to see you again tomorrow.